Windward Islands Teachers Union holds recognition award ceremony. Parliament's petition aims to end 75 years of Dutch abuse and violation of international laws. An MP for the U.S. party says discrimination comes in many forms. Those are the headlines for Monday, March the 15th, 2021. Good evening, viewers. This is SXM Daily News, and I'm Valerie from Picking. And as usual, we have a full newscast for you this evening, so let's get started. In our first story, the Member of Parliament for the U.S. Party, the Honorable Claudius Van Camper, speaking about the Committee for Constitutional Affairs and Decolonization on Friday last, March the 12th, on the program 12 to 1 on SOS Radio with Fernando Clark. The Member of Parliament says that we are doing as if we are not aware of what the discussion was all about. The discussion is very clear. Parliament's position is very clear. We started talking about decolonization and where do we stand in St. Martin. The Member of Parliament expounded further.
We are doing as if we are not aware of what the discussion was all about. I think the discussion is very clear. Parliament's position is very clear. We started talking about decolonization and where do we stand as St. Martin. Now, it is easy to just take the paper and dissect the paper and say, yeah, but this and this and this. I think we got to go a step back. Let's look back at history a little bit. Because today I read a piece, a commentary piece of in the Antilliaanse Dagblad, where it basically boils down to we are upset that conditions are being placed on us for part of our autonomy, because we are getting rent-free money. I say rent-free because it ain't free. We are paying it back, or we should be paying it back. Yeah. Now, those are two big things. We have to pay it back.
But you mean interest-free money?
It's interest-free. That's all it is. And normally you don't get loans interest-free. So let's be honest, it's a good gesture of the Netherlands. But it is not free money. We have to pay it back. Now, if they give it to you and say, okay, you know what? You don't have to pay it back. That's a different story. That's a totally different story. But you're paying it back. You're paying back every cent, or you're obligated to pay it back. Yeah. And you saw how that threat went last year, November, December, when we floated a bond. And I said, we as country, St. Martin, floated a bond. It was said, if you don't stop the float, we're going to immediately request the payment of the 50 million from 10-10-10. That was a loan that had to be paid up, I think, in October, November last year. So again, they have their rights, they have their obligations too. And I think this whole petition started off not in November last year. It started off 2015, when the three prime ministers of St. Martin, Aruba, and Curacao signed a letter asking, are we truly decolonized? And that started the ball rolling. And then I think the then State Secretary of the Netherlands, Mr. Plasterk, started to explain when the same MP Bosman questioned him on it, are they truly decolonized or not, that it wasn't sure.
And while on the same topic of decolonization, the Member of Parliament said that discrimination comes in many forms. Racism is one, inequality is another one. And we like to hide under the one of inequality because the word racism isn't used.
Now, we remember, discrimination comes in many forms. Mm-hmm. In many forms. Racism is one. Inequality is another one. Yep. And we like to hide under the one of inequality because the big word racism isn't used. But again, everyone has their choice of words. Everyone can use their choice of words. I called what happened in Holland the discrimination affair. I didn't say it was the it was the discrimination affair because that's how it was. When the vice chairman of the first chamber states clearly in a speech a year and a half or two ago, when it was 65 years statute of the former Netherlands Antilles, 65 years charter, what did he say in his speech? We have lost all sense and reality with equality. we are so fixated on trying to do other things that we forgot to treat each other equal. They said it.
Yep.
We have been crying about it for years. Now, again, keep putting things in context. In January, we went to IPCO. From the minute the chairman of the CCAR for St. Martin, MP William Allen, made the statement, there was one sentence in the statement that spoke of decolonization. They were not interested in anything else that MP Marlin said other than the word decolonization. And they hammered on that from every angle in every discussion. So it shows, look, I'll say this, Fernando. If we are decolonized, then I believe that when the whole decolonization story comes up by the UN will send us back a letter. Dear Parliament of St. Martin, citizens of St. Martin, please note that the decolonization process has been finalized in accordance to the resolutions of the United Nations. And the story is over, and I will then feel contented because that's why we gave our support. We gave our support because there is no clarity if it is yes or no. So let's go to the competent people and ask if it is finished, yes or no. Now, that in this whole process that happened on Wednesday, if you want to discuss that, yeah, you should have told us before, I agree. I fully agree. Maybe we should have told the public of St. Martin what we were going to do before we did it. But to say we don't have permission, that's utter nonsense. That's utter nonsense. Because the Parliament has 15 duly elected members that represent the population, not their constituents. So we got to put things though in perspective. You listen, I don't like, personally, some of the language. But that's me personally. That it appeared in the Washington Post, yes, that wake up a lot of sleeping dogs. And a lot of people are asking questions. That it was very tactfully placed a week before the Dutch elections. Oh yeah. The only real politician I heard asking about it is Mr. Bosman. A man that is not contesting this election. And on the 17th of March, term comes to an end because the elections will be over. Yeah. And he did not postulate. So he ain't coming back. So his term...
Andre Bosman.
So his term comes to an end.
And the topic of draft motion, which was presented to the United Nations requesting that it investigates violations of a UN mandate right to a full measure of self-government for the people of St. Martin, has been the topic of discussion and continues to be the topic of discussion locally. At a press conference which was called by the Member of Parliament for the United Democrats on Thursday last, Mrs. Sarah Westcott Williams says that it should be clear that some of the handlings by the Kingdom government should be well known. But what bothers her extremely is that Parliament passes a motion and subsequently some of the members finds out about it via. She expounded further.
Now let it be clear. My objections to some of the handlings and the timing of the handlings by the Kingdom government is well known. I've stated them and they're well known. That the Kingdom government has used and to some extent have misused the structure that there is a Kingdom government without any oversight and until now any redress for disputes, that's known. That is not something new that I am divulging. That's known. But what bothers me extremely is the fact that Parliament passes a motion, 12 members of Parliament approve a motion in November 2020 mandating the Chair of Parliament to communicate with any and all third parties on its behalf where it concerns all matters related to the motion. That subsequently members of Parliament learned sort of via of the existence of this draft contract, with the Coharis Law Group in Washington, and that should have been that was a proposal to be signed between the law firm, Aruba, Curacao, and St. Martin. There was even an amount mentioned that these countries would pay for the services of this law firm. This member of parliament, and I dare say, Parliament itself, received nothing until on Wednesday morning, about a half an hour before a closed-door meeting of the Decolonization Committee, we received this document that has taken the context of the motion. First of all, before I go into the context of the motion, there is no member of parliament, and which I asked on Wednesday in the closed-door committee meeting, for any member of parliament to verbalize for me what the goal is, what their goal is, what their intention, what their understanding is of finalizing the decolonization trajectory, as they have stated in this motion. I am still awaiting the answer.
And Parliament's petition, which aims to end 75 years of Dutch abuse and violation of international laws, that petition was sent to the United Nations requesting two of its bodies to investigate systemic discrimination and racism perpetrated against the people of St. Martin, has been met with loud rhetoric and threats from three opposition members of Parliament and Dutch parliamentarians, respectively. On Sunday last, faction leader for the United People's Party, UPP, in Parliament, Grisha Heiliger Martin, said the sudden outburst of threats and rhetoric by some politicians suggests that we should just shut up and accept anything, including abuse for money which can't reach the people yet since 2017. Speaking on the program 12 to 1 with Fernando Clark, along with one of her colleagues in Parliament, MP Buncamper, last Friday, the Member of Parliament says it is time now to allow the United Nations to weigh in on this and let them come in and mediate and let them tell us that we are wrong.
Time now to allow the UN to weigh in on this. Let them come in and mediate. Let them tell us we're wrong. Let them say that they're right and we're wrong. If that's the case, then I would gladly come out and admit, you know something, I tried, I got the information, we're not decolonized, this was not a racist act. Why did we choose that trajectory? Because how could it be, and I think the MP mentioned it earlier, how could it be that the Dutch representative, the rep on the steering committee for the World Bank, the governor, the OM, all of them that represents the Dutch didn't have to get a cut, and they're living in St. Martin. But yet the civil servants had to cut.
No solidarity on their part.
No solidarity there. Is that equality? No, that's not. The petition merely states factual events of what has happened since COVID and I think it was also the hurricane, and citations and references. So if it's wrong, if you're not clear, go to the citation. It's a airtight petition submitted to the committee, and they've already responded. They've already responded, asking it for it to be in a Word document so that they can start clicking on the links of the citations. So this is how quick this committee moves, because this is the same committee that was petitioned on the Zwarte-Piet. They answer one time on this.
Yep.
So it's not new. This is not, matter of fact, this committee will say, oh, Holland again? This is not the first time. This is not the first time that they've bought. You mentioned the Prime Minister of Holland, Mark Rutte. But 2007, he was convicted of being having being racist in a policy he created. He got a tap on the finger, and today he's the Prime Minister. I guess he didn't have to go through no vetting, but he was convicted in the courts. The Tulaka affair, at the end of that, it said that there was corruption, that there was incompetence in this government that Mark Rutte heads, and that there is systemic racism. We didn't conclude that. Their coalition partner, Van Dam, concluded that.
And still to come, NRPB launches Lagoon Cleanup Project. And I'll have the details to that story and much more when SXM Daily News returns.
Hi, I'm Switch.
And I'm Save.
And together we're here
to tell you about WIB, Switch, and Save Mortgage Offer.
Now at WIB, you can save and benefit from great specials when you decide
to bring your mortgage to WIB.
When you switch, WIB will offer you
payment of penalty fees up to 3 months interest,
payment of notary fees,
waive of bank closing fees,
and also the lowest interest rate.
Plus, you'll have the chance to win back 1 year of interest payment.
Visit any of WIB's mortgage specialists and benefit from WIB's Switch and
Hey, that's my part. And Save Mortgage Offer.
WIB, your partner in progress.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching SXM Daily News, and I'm Valerie Van Putten. And as we continue now with other news, Member of Parliament, the Honorable Omar Otley, says that the 2021 Parliament has exposed the untruth of the so-called 10-10-10 and St. Martin's autonomy, causing the main actors in that deal to falsely claim that the March 9th, 2021 petition to the United Nations is a call for independence. In a press release issued on Sunday, Member of Parliament Otley asked if since 10-10-10, the past Parliament and governments of St. Martin have been telling the people that we are autonomous and achieved self-governance, why did it take the Parliament of 2021 to discover that this is not true? Speaking to the Voice of St. Martin's News Department, the MP was asked to elucidate.
Why I'm saying this is that in my short tenure as a parliamentarian, I'm seeing a lot of political games. Right now, since 10-10-10, we have been told that we are an autonomous country. We have been told that we have self-governance. But the UN basically said, to try to layman's term, there shall be no more colonies. Colonies are illegal. Okay, there was a process that Puerto Rico went and many other colonies went through and were decolonized. In the latest UN report, the Netherlands did not fulfill, because in the list of obligations, Article 73 was not completed. So we're not asking for independence tomorrow. What we are asking is to be decolonized. Because if we're not decolonized, then what does that mean, Mr. Cerillion? That St. Martin is a colony. You know, and I think it's a rude awakening. And if I was in government all those years, I too would play and try to put the wool over the people's eyes before they realize that, hey, for 10 years I have misled the people.
Interestingly, you made mention of Article 73, MP. Are you basically saying that the people were taken for a ride and that they were lied to?
Well, I don't want to... I believe in human error, and I believe in the possibility of blatantly not knowing. But this is where research comes in. Research. So maybe the politicians of St. Martin were not aware of it. Maybe. Find it hard to believe, but maybe. So now we are taking the correct steps to be decolonized. Does this mean tomorrow we're independent, we're on our own hand back to passport? No. Look, for instance, Puerto Rico. They are decolonized, but America still have responsibility to take care of Puerto Rico when need be, right? So that's all we are saying. It's an example of such.
And turning now to other news at this time. As domestic violence cases have been increasing on the island, it has the attention of the police department as well as our shelter for battered women, Safe Haven. Speaking to the director of Safe Haven, Ms. Vanessa Frazier, recently, when asked how does one become a client of Safe Haven and what kind of support can she receive at the institution, Ms. Frazier says that once they establish the risk that the woman is in, they make contact with the police force, as the police force are very attuned to their needs.
On St. Martin, we don't have what you say in Dutch a centrale meldpunt. How do you say that in English? A central point of contact for domestic violence victims. No, we do not have that. So the contact would be made either directly to our hotline. I want to say the number. That is 523-6400. So that is either 933. Yeah, so it's either or. 523-6400 or 933. Yeah. And So it's either through our hotline that the calls come in, or the lady in question can go directly to the police station. So once it comes in through the hotline, of course, the first thing that we do is assure that she is safe. We need to evaluate the immediate risk that she is in so that we know how to continue with the conversation. Now, if the risk is high, then we have to make that contact with our local police force one time, and they would send out a dispatch to the location. They are very attuned to our needs, and they respond very quickly. So once we establish the risk that the lady is in, we ask her, okay, what are your needs? Well, how can we help you? What can we do for you? As I already mentioned, not everybody wants actual shelter. So if she wants shelter, then we still request the police to come in if she cannot go to the police station herself. So the police would go to the location and assist her in removing her personal belongings, not literally packing her belongings, but they would make sure that it happens in a safe environment. And then she would be escorted to the police station, and indeed, she can file a complaint.
And you can hear the entire program with the director of Safe Haven, Ms. Vanessa Frazier, tomorrow at 5 p.m. on PJD2 Radio 1300 AM and PJD3 Radio 102.7 FM on Now You Know. And as of this week, the National Recovery Program Bureau, NRPB, has finally launched the Simpson Bay Lagoon Cleanup Project. This project, according to the director of the NRPB, Mr. Claret Connor, seeks to clear damage caused by the marine sector and the surrounding environment by dozens of shipwrecked vessels, resulting from the passage of Hurricane Irma back in 2017. This cleanup activity will salvage, decommission, and dispose of 100 vessels which have been observed to be either moored partially or fully submerged in or around the Simpson Bay Lagoon. The director noted that many of these vessels are also believed to have been shipwrecked as far back as Hurricane Luis in 1995. The project, which is being financed by the World Bank Trust Fund, is being executed to the tune of over $11 million and is expected to be completed within 5 months.
It's always exciting when we could come to the public announcing the start of works. I mean, that is simply because of the amount of time and effort it takes to get to this point. Drafting a contract, basically, working towards establishing a project and, sending out a bid. This was an international bid. It has been awarded to KMS BV, which is a large Dutch company that does this type of work globally. And also we have a number of individuals, including a supervising company, to ensure that the works are carried out as per contract. The challenge in this was, I would say, over the years. It's a very sensitive environmental project, an activity that has strong environmental management requirements built into it. So we have to ensure that nothing or very little harm is done to our ecosystem, the lagoon, and the shorelines of the lagoon.
Now, turning to our weather forecast for March the 15th, 2021. Daytime heating and pockets of moisture at the lower levels of the atmosphere may produce some isolated showers. A weak Atlantic high-pressure system will maintain mostly light winds. Seas will remain slight to moderate during the next few days. So the outlook through Wednesday midday, partly cloudy with isolated showers possible. Now, let's turn to your 3-day forecast. And still to come, Windward Islands Teachers Union holds recognition award ceremony. And I'll have the details to that story when SXM Daily News returns.
the innovative Banco-Matico contactless smart card. Your Banco-Matico smart card is now equipped with a contactless feature for payments, so get ready to tap and go. Contactless payments are fast, easy, secure, and accepted worldwide at all Maestro-enabled contactless terminals. Tap for transactions equivalent to or less than 100 NAF, or the US dollar equivalent. You will receive notifications via email anytime you tap. Tap, tap, and pay fast with WIB. For more information, visit our website at wib-bank.net. Tap and go with your partner in progress.
Welcome back, viewers. And as we continue now in this item, our social health insurers, SZV, has issued a notice for pensioners who did not receive their March 2021 AOV or AWW payment. You are asked to please contact SZV on the dedicated phone line of 546-6791. That's 546-6791 between 7:30 a.m. and 2 p.m. Monday to Friday. This line is open until the 19th of March, and this number is only for pensioners who did not receive their March 2021 AOV or AWW payment. And as we end this edition of SXM Daily News for this evening, the Windward Islands Teachers Union Status of Women's Committee held a recognition award ceremony on Saturday last, March the 13th, at the John Larmony Center. The theme was The Bonds That Strengthens Us, Rising Amid Adversities. Speaking at the ceremony, President of the Y2, Mrs. Clay Alshot, told the attendees that if you have an affiliation of such a nature, a small unit in the Caribbean from a small island, and no matter where she goes, she lets her voice be heard. The Windward Islands Teachers Union president also announced at that gathering that while she will be retiring, they still need that type of capacity building.
So, when you have an affiliation of such a nature, a small unit in the Caribbean from a small island, they always say small acts cut down big trees, and no matter where I go, I leave my voice be heard on behalf of my members and myself. So everybody knows clear by now. The fact of the matter is that every unit in the Caribbean, starting from Belize, go straight across, coming down to the south, they all, as a requirement, have to establish a status of women's committee. So, as the Windward Islands Chamber of, the Windward Islands Teachers Union, you see I have two caps sometimes, we could not lag behind because the status of Women's Committee has their specific role and their specific goals. Actually, it goes on educating women in general, but not only women. And I'm glad to see that we have a few men between us, but it's also about bringing the awareness and educating men on the different rights and privilege, especially in our profession. It is also about strengthening and capacity building of women to take on leadership roles, not only within your job, but even further. So I know tonight a lot of you would say to me, we want you to stay as president of the Teachers Union. But it is a task that should also be looked at as a challenge by other young teachers to be able to fulfill and to help me carry my suitcase into retirement.
And with that, viewers, we've come to the end of this edition of SXM Daily News for this evening. I am Valerie Van Putten, thanking you so much for joining me. And just a reminder that this and other programs are available online. Simply log on to stmartinmediacenter.com for viewing. And on behalf of the SXM Daily News team, we thank you so much for watching and plan on meeting you right back here again tomorrow.